So this year, our annual road course test is the 4th test of the year, and it's more expansive, more comprehensive than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
When you consider all the different specs, the different sizes, there are 19 unique tires in this year's test spread across 3 days of testing. And we're creating a whole series of videos, 6 of them in total, to show the output. We have several distinct groups of tires, and each has its own more specialized video. But also, we wanted to create a single, all-encompassing video that shows, hey, this is what we've done.
And to be clear right up front, we need to communicate that there are more variables in this test than we would allow in our usual testing. In order to test everything we wanted to, we had to run 2 different tire sizes, 2 different wheel sizes, and of course across 3 days of testing. So while we run a common control tire to normalize within each day, we didn't run them across every day of testing. So we need to be cautious, don't compare necessarily between days.
Right, absolutely. Even with that caveat though, we were really excited to show all the hard work that we've done. So let's get down to it.
Our normal test size for testing extreme performance summer tires on the track is 275/35/19, and those are mounted on 19x10 OZ Estrema GT wheels. Our track use only test size is 275/35/18, mounted on 18x10 Sparco FF3 wheels. And our Michelin Pilot Sport GT slicks are 27/65/18 in the S8 compound, which we chose for its quick warm-up characteristics compared to the more popular S9 compound. To make sure our brakes are solid and fade-free to avoid any unintended variables, we use Hawk Performance DTC 70 brake pads in the front and DTC 60s in the rear.
The first group of test tires are the 19-inch Extreme Performance Summer tires. This included the brand new, endurance and consistency-focused BF Goodrich G-Force Rival Plus and its counterpart, the speed-focused G-Force Rival S 1.5. The Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RS is a competitor favorite, and it has tested very well in the past. The Falcon Azenis RT660 Plus is an update on a very strong entry in the category, and the Nankang Sportnext CRS set the fastest average lap time in our last track test. Another new entry is the Vtour Tempesta P1, which has generated a lot of conversation in the enthusiast community, and we're excited to see if it lives up to the hype. The Yokohama Advan A052 needs no introduction, and it's the final benchmark tire in the test. The second group of tires includes several extreme performance summer tires, along with 2 that fall into our Streetable Track and Competition performance category, and 2 that are Racetrack and Autocross Only. The Extreme Performance Summer tires aren't available in our normal 19-inch test size, so we tested them in a shorter 275/35/R18 track-only fitment. The Continental Extreme Contact Force is designed to last for endurance racing while being fast and consistent at the same time. The Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3 is also a long-lasting tire that balances speed with endurance and delivers great driving dynamics. And the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 240 is included by popular demand from our viewers. We use the Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RS as a speed-focused benchmark for the Extreme Performance Summer tires, and it also helps tie in with the Streetable Track and Competition tires to give an idea of how they compare to one of the fastest EP products. The Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3R is a 100 treadwear tire that starts life with just 5/32 of an inch of tread depth, and it's the performance benchmark for the category. The newest competitor in that space is the Hoosier Track Attack Pro. It has a 200 treadwear rating, but it also only starts with 5/32 of an inch of tread depth when it's brand new. And we're excited to find out if it has what it takes to dethrone the Goodyear, and also how it compares to the Potenza RE71 RS. The Racetrack and Autocross Only tires are the Hoosier A7 and the Yokohama Advan A055. These served as the top of the speed hierarchy, allowing us to use a single test to compare all of the most commonly used tire categories on the track.
The final group consists of Racetrack and Autocross Only tires, along with 1 dedicated race slick. The Hoosier A7 is an autocross-focused tire, but competitors sometimes use it for qualifying laps or time attack events, so we wanted to find out how fast it is and for how long in track use. The Hoosier R7 is the benchmark in the space, and Pirelli claims they have a real competitor for it with their brand new P0 Trofeo track. The Toyo Proxys R is designed to carry on the long tradition set by its predecessor, while also offering more speed and more satisfying steering characteristics. Yokohama's Advan A055 is a close match for the fastest tires in the category, and we're retesting it to see how it fares on our larger and more powerful test vehicle. The final tire in this group is the Michelin Pilot Sport GT, a 27-65-18 racing slick in the S8 intermediate compound. We wanted to find out how much faster, if any, these purebred race tires are than their DOT counterparts. When reporting lap times for our road course testing, in the past we've used the average time for each tire. Over our years of testing, we found that almost every tire is capable of a single outlier fast lap. Generally, it's on their first timed lap before they reach their eventual full hot temperature. For anyone participating in time attack, the fast lap time is usually more relevant than the average, so this year we've decided to publish that data as well.
Our first group was tested on a day that saw lots of sun load and temperatures in the 90s, with relative humidity averaging about 80%. It was hot for our drivers, the car, and for the tires.
You're going to battle this weather today.
I'm going to complain a lot. Fluids. Replaced by electrolytes. But we saw very little trend across the full day of testing. The Potenza RE71 RS has always been a contender in our track testing, and in this test it set the fastest average lap time at 1 minute 39.78 seconds, in addition to the fastest single lap of 1:38.38. The Tempesta P1 delivered very strong braking and acceleration traction, though it didn't blend inputs as well as we would have liked. Its average lap was 0.3 of a second behind the Bridgestone, but its fastest lap was over a second behind at 1:39.64. indicating it did have significantly more consistency after getting warmed up. BF Goodrich's G-Force Rival S 1.5 is a tire we had never tested on the road course before, and it ended up being one of our subjective favorites thanks to the immediate, accurate steering and its easy, neutral handling balance. It was just behind the V-Tour for both the average lap and the fast lap. We couldn't fall in love with the subjective behavior of the Sportneck CRS. It had strong traction and quick steering response, but it doesn't intuitively put all of those traits together. It also had the second fastest single lap at 1:39.43, but it was fourth in average lap time. The Advan A052 is known to be a strong performer, and it's tested well for us in the past. This year, the conditions resulted in it setting the fifth fastest average lap, and shockingly was seventh for flying lap time with a 1:40.2 seconds. We were excited to drive the Azenis RT660 Plus. Its predecessor was fun and reasonably quick, but we couldn't help but feel a little let down by this new version. It wasn't as playful or as eager to rotate, and it resulted in a 1:41.1 average lap paired with a 1 minute 39.88 as its best. As an endurance-focused product, the G-Force Rival Plus surprised us with the third fastest flying lap. From there, it fell off noticeably and then stayed consistent throughout the rest of our testing. It was very easy to drive, communicating nicely for satisfying, repeatable laps that averaged 1 minute 41.35 seconds.
Our second test group saw the most favorable conditions. Overnight rain brought with it cooler weather in the mid-70s, which combined with cloud cover for the first half of our test day meant we saw no trend from our first control run to the first repeat. The sun came out shortly after and slowed things down slightly, but we still had less than 1% trend across the second half of the test group. The Advan A055 genuinely impressed our team. In addition to being incredibly intuitive and natural to drive, it set the fastest average lap time at 1:38.67 and was tied for the second fastest single lap of the test. It may not come as a surprise that the Hoosier A7 set the fastest lap, though it was only by 0.05 of a second. It also managed to stay relatively consistent across all of its laps, resulting in a close second place for average lap time as well. The Potenza RE71 RS again demonstrated its impressive capabilities, holding its own in this group of tough competitors with a 1:39.14 average lap and a 1:38.35 fast lap. The Eagle F1 Supercar 3R set a blistering first lap at 1:37.95 seconds. From there, it fell off noticeably in pace, but it was still very nice to drive, if not quite as fast as first impressions seemed to indicate it would be. The Eagle F1 Supercar 3 turned out to be one of our favorite tires in the test. It required almost the full warm-up lap before it felt like it was ready to go, but from there it was incredibly consistent and great to drive. At 139.39, its fast lap was about 1.5 seconds slower than its 100 treadwear brand mate, but it was only 0.3 behind in average lap time because it never fell off. We were excited to finally find out what the Track Attack Pro was capable of, and while its 138.88 second fast lap was good, it was just mid-pack in this test group. The front axle was very authoritative, pointing the car confidently. It also allowed our drivers to put the power down early, which was appreciated, but slight push from mid-corner to exit meant it still required discipline with the throttle to get it just right. On its first lap, the Pilot Sport Cup 2240 was a beautiful tire to drive. The front end pointed the car with authority and allowed the rear to rotate exactly the right amount. While it wasn't incredibly fast, subjectively it was masterful. Unfortunately, that changed in turn 2 of the second lap. It began to push at the front and didn't feel anywhere near as poised or confident. Its fast lap of 140.28 seconds was second from the back, and its 1 minute 41.66 average lap time was as well. The Extreme Contact Force is well known as a tire that can last for hours on the track, and its laps were some of the most consistent of the test. We were very happy with its subjective behavior. The steering was sharp and precise, and it really engaged all 4 tires through the turns. Ultimately, it was at the back of the pack for pace on its fastest lap, but it closed the gap to the Michelin when taking the average into consideration.
The third group of tires saw the most difficult conditions. Temperatures were in the low 90s when testing started, climbing to the mid-90s by the afternoon. Full sun all day and high humidity meant lap times were slower than expected. But consistent results across all our control runs confirm validity of the data. We didn't know what to expect from the Pilot Sport GT, and we were blown away by the experience. It was up to temp and delivering full grip by the end of the outlap, and it stayed very consistent, only beginning to exhibit some slight fall off on the final lap. It set the fastest single lap at 1 minute 38.13 seconds, and also the fastest average lap time by 1.5 seconds over the next closest tire. The Advan A055 delivered the second fastest single lap and the second fastest average lap time. On top of that, it was wonderful to drive. It had strong traction all around, and it was engaging and easy to handle, with slight, usable rotation and neutral front-to-rear balance. The A7 was excellent at making speed, but subjectively it wasn't as satisfying as several other tires in the test. The steering was near immediate, so much so that at least one of our drivers had to dial out some wheel to avoid the curbing on more than one occasion. Objectively, it was 0.2 behind the Yokohama for the fast lap and a little over 0.4 for average time. Pirelli isn't being secretive about the fact that the R7 is their prime target with the P0 Trofeo track, and our testing found the Pirelli ahead in terms of both subjective feel and lap times. It took longer to warm up than the R7, not fully coming in until the third turn of lap 2. From that point forward though, it was fast, consistent, and nice to drive, with more satisfying steering and balance than its competitor. Speaking of the R7, in this test group it was second from the bottom for its fastest lap and for its average time. It had great traction and brutally fast steering, but its 1 minute 41.11 average lap wasn't enough in the face of this strong competition. The Proxys R was about 0.4 behind the R7 for average lap and almost 1.5 seconds behind for its fastest lap, but we didn't care because it was such an enjoyable experience. It had the most consistent laps of any tire across all 3 days of testing, and it was just so easy to drive. We lovingly nicknamed it the Miata of tires.
Utilizing the ferrule arm we used to measure vehicles for wheel and tire fitment, we were able to compare the wear rate between the tires in our test. We measured the tires when they were brand new and then again after we finished with our testing. Green indicates a region of the tire that has identical or 0.5 millimeter greater depth than when it started, with yellow and red indicating more gain than that due to natural rubber pickup or migration. The more important colors are the blues and purples, with light blue indicating 0.5 to 1.5 millimeter of tread loss, and dark blue to purple or pink showing a loss of 2 to 3+ millimeters of tread compared to the new tire. It's important to note that this wear is based on a limited number of laps on our vehicle with our drivers, so your mileage may vary.
Comparing the wear between the two rival tires, the G-Force Rival Plus lives up to its endurance-focused promise, at least compared to its brand mate. The G-Force Rival S 1.5 exhibits significantly more wear on the leading edges of its two intermediate ribs, in addition to the trailing edge of the outboard element. The Potenza RE71 RS lost the most overall depth, with around 1 mm across the entire face and 2 to 2.5 mm of loss at the leading edge of both intermediate ribs. The Azenas RT660 Plus saw around 1.5 mm of tread loss on the outboard shoulder and the leading edge of the center rib. The Sportneck CRS was one of the best in terms of wear, only experiencing around 0.5 mm of wear on the ribs and around 1 mm on the most abused outboard shoulder. The Tempesta P1 saw significant wear of 1.5 to 2 mm on the shoulder and 1 to 1.5 mm on both ribs. Lastly, the Advan A052 was very close to the Nankang for wear, with 0.5 to 1 mm of tread loss in the highest wear locations of the tread pattern.
The Potenza RE71 RS was used as the control tire for the 18-inch Extreme Performance Summer Tire test group, so it was driven for twice as many laps as the other tires, and the wear shows it. It lost 1 to 1.5 mm over the entire tread face, with spots of 2 to 2.5 mm on the outboard shoulders and second intermediate rib, and 3 to 4 mm of degradation on the first rib, though experience has shown that the beveling of the intermediate rib tends to level out with more use. The Extreme Contact Force lived up to its long life reputation with almost no measurable wear anywhere other than the leading edge of the center rib. The Eagle F1 Supercar 3 also resisted wear very nicely, though it lost about 1 mm on the outboard shoulder and leading edges of the intermediate ribs. The final Extreme Performance Summer tire was the Pilot Sport Cup 2 240, and it exhibited the most wear aside from the controlled tire. On the outboard shoulder, it lost 1.5 to 2 mm of tread and up to 2.5 mm of tread on the leading edges of the two intermediate ribs. The Eagle F1 Supercar 3R served as the control for the sub-200 tires in the test, and it wore remarkably well in that task, with tread loss concentrated almost exclusively on the outboard shoulder. The scans of the A7 and A055 are remarkably similar, with both tires losing depth only on the outboard shoulder, though the Yokohama's is slightly more severe.
The R7 acted as the control for the Racetrack and Autocross Only test group, and it lost around 2 to 2.5 mm on the outboard shoulder, plus 0.5 to 1 mm on the outermost 2/3 of the tread face. With its lighter use, the A7 didn't see any loss across the face, but it did give up 1.5 to 2 mm on the outboard shoulder. The P0 Trofeo track also wore very nicely, with perhaps 0.5 mm degradation only in the shoulder. The Proxys R lost about 0.5 to 1 mm in the shoulder and the leading edge of the center rib, and the Advan A055 concentrated all of its wear in the shoulder. Finally, the Pilot Sport GT exhibited minimal wear as well, losing 0.5 to 1.5 mm on the outboard shoulder only.
So this represents 3 days of testing, 24 total sets of tires, including repeats and controls, 156 gallons of premium fuel, a set and a half of front brake pads, all distilled down into 3 charts of lap times.
When you put it like that, it was a lot of work.
It was fun.
You're right, it was absolutely fun, and this is why we test, right? But the whole purpose of our test program is to provide drivers with scientific, repeatable results so they can make the right tire choice for how, where, and what they drive. So we hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more detailed, in-depth results on the individual groups, be sure to check out the specific videos from this series. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, be sure to leave those in the comment section below. We try to read as many of them as we can.
Yep, sometimes it even helps guide our testing.
Correct, yes. We might include different tires that we hadn't thought about because of the comments. So thank you for that. Of course, be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.